Okay, what is a book? How many of you actually read books? Oh gosh, a lot of you. And you're a bit late putting your hand up, Lex. So yeah, and they're great things to read, aren't they? You know, I always regret that we have to had the library shut. It's such a sad thing because so many people, I mean, we used to, at the flats where I am, we used to have a mobile library. And they used to come every fortnight, and we all used to look forward to it because it was like a social occasion. Everybody would gather together and we'd choose a book, and they'd get a book for us if we'd ordered it or we didn't know where it was. And then afterwards, we'd all have a cup of tea. And it was lovely. You know, it really was lovely. And so, all of a sudden, a lady comes along and she said, my fan's not working very well, she said, and they won't repair it for me. So she said, there won't be a library anymore. And that was such a sad occasion. There won't be a library. And my cousin works at Bournemouth, or did work at Bournemouth Council, and he was saying, you know, and they want to shut libraries after libraries after libraries to save money. It's not just saving money, is it? It's the social side of it, it's the getting together, it's the chances for people to meet somebody else, and if you like, explore the books they've been reading. Yeah? Why shut the libraries? Does anybody know how many books there are in the Bible? Anyone hazard a guess? 66. Do you know how they're split up?
Old Testament, New Testament.
Thank you, Lex. No. How many books are in the Old Testament? Anybody? Nobody? Sorry? Thank you. And how many are in the New Testament? Quick mathematics. Quick deduct 39 from 66. Everybody gets 27, do they? Excellent. We all reach the same pocket. Perfect. Okay. Do you know how many different versions of the Bible there are? Well, basically, there's a lot less than that, but there's the variations on the versions there are. There's like... 3,000. Okay, very good. Well, there you go then, you see. Am I repeating what you had last week? Oh, because in that case, there's no excuse to go home, is there really? Right, okay, so we have the Bible. And we have 66 books in that Bible, which are so interesting. And the thing that most people don't get is that the Bible is actually, the Old Testament and the New Testament can't be separated because one follows on from the other. And the stories we read in the New Testament quite often have started off in the old one, or they fulfilled the prophecies from the old one. And we're doing Bible study at the moment at church. And it's fascinating, and I have to say that the Bible studies that appear on YouTube are excellent. So, you know, there's a lot to be had from those. So if you're not already reading them, please do, because they really are very, very good. And they are structured, so you do at least know which direction you're going in. So whoever does them, well done. So anyway, and they're all very surprised to learn that a lot of the Bible you can relate to modern day. You know, okay, we've got the technology to go with it, but basically we haven't moved on very much in the time. We still have wars, we still have taxation, they had taxation in the Bible, and the taxation are still used for more or less the same reasons. Roads and all sorts of things. There are, as I say, loads and loads of types of books to have. There's comedy books, there's autobiographies, biographies, there's detective ones. I love detective books. I really love detective. I never get them. I never get the ending, but I love them. And we have them, and I was watching a detective one on television last night. I was sitting there watching it, and I thought, actually, I'm more confused at the end of this than at the beginning. And so sometimes we just don't get there, do we, in the end? There's romances, you know, especially near Christmas time, when the man or the boy meets the girl, and everything is wonderful, and under the Christmas tree, and all the lovely lights and the mistletoe, there's this quick kiss, and there you are, you know, romance buds. And the next minute, in the new year, they've broken up. But otherwise, you know, it's a lovely romance for Christmas. Books are worth reading, they're informative. They are, especially like, you know, for those who can't see, there's Braille. And that's wonderful. You know, there's talking books. I mean, I used to help out when I was in Warrington. My husband and I used to help with the talking books. And it's amazing how much they're appreciated. You know, it's a link with the outside world, and also they haven't got lost. You know, the fact is they can still read them even though they can't see. And that is just brilliant for those people to still have that ability. We have Kindle, which I'm sorry to say I'm not a fan of. I love the smell of a new book. I love it when you can put it there and it looks nicely thumbed, and you get to the end of it and you put it on the shelf and you think, that's there for me to read again. But so often with Kindle, it's like, you know, you can't put any more in your library because it's full, yeah? So you get rid of some of the books you actually wanted to keep on there. So it's not really very good. But later on, I have a story to tell you, a story of one of my particular favourites from the Bible, which will tell us really why actually it's a good thing to read the book. And it might seem daunting, but the thing I like most is a beautifully thumbed Bible. One that says that person has not got it on the shelf because they've been presented with it at some date in the past, and then they knock the dust off it, because thing to do, isn't it? But simply because they want to read it and understand it and learn it. And if you can't read it just by doing that, you can buy study Bibles, and they tell you fascinating facts about all the things and help you to understand exactly what the passages are about. So, you know, don't look at it as a dusty relic. Don't get your duster out every week and dust it. Read it. Please, please read it. And you'll be fascinated in what it contains.
From Psalm 123. Lord, I look up to you, up to heaven, where you rule. As a servant depends on his master, and a maid depends on her mistress, so we will keep looking to you, O Lord our God, until you have mercy on us. Be merciful to us, Lord, be merciful. We have been treated with so much contempt. We have been mocked too long by the rich, and scorned by the proud oppressors. This is the word of the Lord.
Our second reading is from 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 1 to 11. There is no need to write to you, brothers and sisters, about the times and occasions when these things will happen, for you yourselves know very well that the day of the Lord will come as a thief comes at night. When people say everything is quiet and safe, then suddenly destruction will hit them. It will come as suddenly as the pains that come upon a woman in labour, and people will not escape. But you, brothers and sisters, are not in the darkness, and the day should not take you by surprise like a thief. All of you are people who belong to the light, who belong to the day. We do not belong to the night or to the darkness. So then, we should not be sleeping like the others. We should be awake and sober. It is at night that people sleep. It is at night that they get drunk. But we belong to the day and we should be sober. We must wear faith and love as a breastplate, and our hope of salvation as a helmet. God did not choose us to suffer his anger, but to possess salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us in order that we might live together with him, whether we are alive or dead when he comes. And so, encourage one another and help one another, just as you are now doing. Thanks be to God.
I have lots of, if you can have lots of favourite books and favourite stories in the Bible. Some of them you think are a bit sort of strange, and others you get really into the story and think how good it is. One of them I know you'll all be familiar with is good old Noah and his ark. You know, who can not like Noah and his ark? And at the beginning of this story, God is angry. He's angry because the people have turned against him. They've all worshipped idols and gone their own way and totally and absolutely ignored him. And so God has to do something drastic. And he decides he's going to flood the people and flood the properties. And of all people, he picks on Noah. And he says to Noah, I want you to build this ark, and I want you to take your family and go into it, and then I will send the rains, and you'll all be safe. And I also want you to take 2 of each species of animals and go into the ark. Now, I'm happy with that as far as that goes, but what worries me is what happens to all those predators in the ark who would eat the others? Well, clearly, you know, that is sorted out on the way down, I imagine. God thinks of everything. Remember that, God thinks of everything. So, Noah is told to build this ark. He's told what to use, the sizes, the building, everything. I don't know what Mrs. Noah would have thought. She probably thought, there's something wrong with Noah today. He's building something, and it's huge. And what's he doing that for? Anyway, the story is, I think, he must have got help, because one little man on his own cannot build an ark that size. So we assume that the sons or the daughters, husbands, son-in-laws, or whatever you want to call them, had a hand in it as well, and maybe 1 or 2 neighbours. Although, as they weren't going to get rescued, I don't know how they would help anyway. So they go and they get built. And if any of you have seen the Titanic, or pictures of the Titanic, and know the size of the Titanic, Noah's Ark was slightly smaller. You'll be relieved to hear, because he'd still be building it now otherwise, I reckon. So, Noah's there, and he's building his ark, and he's got his helpers, and he's got all the tools going out. This ark appears, and lo and behold, there it is. And he's got doors, and he's got windows, and he's got places for the animals, places for the people, and they're all going to live in that boat, and he doesn't know how long for. So they're all sitting there in the ark, and Noah gathers the animals, and first of all he's thinking, where are these animals coming from? I haven't got time to go around and collect hundreds of animals. But no, they appear obediently, 2 by 2, and walk into the ark. They go to their allotted places, and there's food on board, everything. And the doors are shut. And the rains come. And if you think you've seen rain, wow, this rain was rain. And it poured down, and the land was flooded, and the people were flooded. Oh dear. So, few people are saved. But what sticks out to me with this story is this. God chooses Noah amongst all of those people to build the ark and to save him and his family, because Noah is the one that God says has faith. And he must have a heck of a lot of faith, because you wouldn't do it, would you? You'd find all the no-nos you didn't want to do, all the this, that and the other. But no, Noah faithfully follows what God instructs. Wow. I wonder how many people can say that now. I wonder how many people can actually look and say, I would go anywhere God sends me. I wonder. I mean, when I think of when I first started preaching, etc., I was chosen, for want of a better word, to run 3 little churches. Well, 1 big one, 2 little ones. And we were doing this, and it meant quite a trip from one to another to another. One only had an evening service. I think they had a congregation of about 6. They were all like family, etc. But when I was asked to do this and prayed about it, and I kept saying, no, leave me alone. I'm happy where I am. Go away. No, God wasn't going away. So they called me to have a meeting, and at this meeting, I was asked all sorts of questions. And then it was a case of, well, we'll let you know. And I thought, oh yes, this is a chance. When I can't actually see them, I can actually say no, because it's on the phone. It doesn't feel so bad on the phone, does it? So anyway, that night, I thought, it's all right. And I said to God, look, I am not going. No, I am not going. So all I kept getting was, feed my sheep. And I thought, feed your own. I've had enough. I don't want any more. I'm bearing in mind that the nearest church was 20 miles away from home anyway. I don't really want this. I can't do it. I'm incapable of doing it. I'm useless. No. And then they rang up, we'd love you to come again, and we'd love you to meet the elders. What? Meet the elders? That's the most scariest thing in the world, meeting elders, isn't it? Do I have to bow down? Yes, Your Majesty. No, Your Majesty. No. Well, all right then, I'll go. But I'm not doing it. I'm still not doing it. And every night I kept telling God the same thing. I am not doing it, God. I am not. Make me ill. Anything you like. Make me ill. Break me leg. Whatever you like. I'm not doing it. And all I kept getting was, feed my sheep. I thought, no, please not, no. So I went to do it with the elders, had a meeting with the elders, all sorts of questions. Then I was asked to lead the prayer group. I did that. I got home and I thought, oh, definitely not after this lot. No. Phone call, we'd love you to come and preach with a view. So I sort of said, I don't really know. Oh yeah, we'd love you to do that. Yeah, we'd love you to do it. So I put the phone down thinking, hang on a minute, what actually happened to this? I'm not doing it. And the next time they ring up, I'm going to say, no, I'm not coming to any meeting. Well, there you go. So I went and preached with a view. And the retired minister, who was minister of that church at the time, but had totally retired, decided he was going to turn up as well. And he was going to sit as far near at the back as he possibly could. And he was deaf. So that at the end of it, he could say, I didn't hear one word of what you said. I thought, good, this is a good start, because they won't ask me now. They won't say yes now. I hadn't been home half an hour. We'd love you to come. We'd love you to be our minister. So I said, I'll let you know tomorrow. I need to pray. So I said to God, I said, look, this has got ridiculous now. I really don't want to do this. Really don't want to do it. Please, broken leg will do. Anything. I don't want to do it. Same old story, feed my sheep. Basically, that's how it all started. I fed his sheep for quite a few years. Had great time. We started off youth clubs and went skating and all the rest of it and enjoyed it, thoroughly had a thoroughly lovely time, until eventually that church had to close down because there were so few members in it. They were all fairly elderly. And although we got a decent congregation on Sunday, it's not the same, or actually, some part in the church, whatever. And so it always fills me with awe that Noah actually said yes to such a task, that he was going to get and build this boat, and he was going to take his family on it, and he was going to save those people. And then God says, because you've got that faith, he said, when the flood is over and you come out into the ark, I want you to look after the people and to show them the way and to bring faith to these people. And that's what Noah did. And you're going to say, well, okay, that finishes the story now. The Bible story is finished. But no, and just to prove that actually it goes into modern day, it does. Because there was a chap whose name was Johann Hubers. And he was a born-again Christian, and this chap lived in Amsterdam. And he'd taken it upon himself to start on his path towards reaching God. And he decided he had to start off by reading the Bible. And he was very reluctant to read the Bible because he said, there's not much I'm interested in. And he started reading the Bible, and every time he picked it up and read it, he cried. And he said, although I'm helping people, although I'm doing things for people, I'm not doing what I should be. And the story of Noah particularly touched him. And he thought of all the people in the world who know nothing about God. And he prayed about it, and he kept reading the Bible. And he had this desire to go out into the world and tell people God existed. He really does exist. He's not a mythical figure somewhere. He's something that's deep in your heart and in your soul. And so he read the Ark story, and he decided to devote his life to building a new ark. And he set off with as much closeness to the ark, materials and everything else, and he built it. And he used his skills. He had skills as a carpenter and a house builder. He worked in Honduras and Ethiopia and various other parts of the world. He'd already done emergency work, rebuilding houses after wars and disasters and things. And he decided that he could use those skills to build this modern-day ark. And one night, he recalls, there was a heavy storm. And he says, I went to the shore with my son and I watched the waves. And that night, I dreamed that all of Holland was flooded. And he said, the dream was so vivid and real that I realized, I was convinced it had to mean something important. He didn't know what it actually meant. It was only during a seemingly bizarre moment at a bookstore, of all places, that he saw what he was meant to do. I came upon a book of Noah's Ark, he said, sticking out from all the other books. And he decided immediately to create the ark, and he starts off. And when it's finished, he opens it to everybody. And he asks people to come in. And if for no other reason, they came in for curiosity. What is this chap doing? He's got animals in this ark. He had a petting zoo for the children. And they could go in the petting zoo while the parents were in another room listening about God and listening about how they could be helped with their problems. And he expanded and expanded on all of this, and more people came. And in the end, there must have been thousands of people wanting to come to see what this was all about. He said, I'm not saying that they all followed God. But he said, what I am saying is they found a refuge in that ark. They found somewhere that they could go and be helped to hear about God, and somewhere where they could talk to others about their religion and their faith and their problems. And so for 13 years, Johann kept his ambition going. And he continued doing his work, and he still envisioned his dream coming to life. And that was finally when the ark was totally finished. He had everything he needed. He even had the ramp going up and the animals in different cubicles, I suppose, for want of a better thing. And it took off. God helped him to do that. God gave him the vision. God said, I need you to feed my people. And that's what he did. And it cost him $1.2 million to build it. What faith is that? $1.2 million in a project he didn't even know was going to take off. It's almost like, and I'm sorry to keep mentioning Indiana Jones, but I do love Indiana Jones. It reminds me of when his father was dying on the floor in the cave, and he was told to go and find this artifact. And he set out, and he had many slips on the way. He was trying to decode things, spell the name of Jesus right in this language or other. And eventually he gets to this cave, and he gets to the cave, and there's a big ravine. And there's no way across, and he needs to get across to get to the artifact at the other side. So he stands on the ravine and he thinks, what on earth do I do now? And in his head, it kept going through, step of faith, step of faith. And he tentatively put his foot out, and lo and behold appeared a step. And he went onto that step, and the same thing happened until he got to the other side, and he reached the artifact and he saved his father's life. Even if we don't have to have major things happen in our life, even if we aren't asked to build an ark, we aren't asked to perform miracles, it doesn't matter. God is there for us. And he says, doesn't he, even faith as small as a mustard seed can be built on. You know? And sometimes I think that when I doubt things, as we all, I'm sure, do, I think, gosh, it feels as though I've got faith as small as a mustard seed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much faith you have. The fact is, you have faith. You know there is a God, and you know he loves you. And the other thing we need to cling on to, he will never, never, ever let you down.